continuing with the X-Men block with X-Men 2 Clone Wars for Sega Genesis, played by A-Frame with Smelling McTroll commentating. How are you guys?
Good.
Good to hear.
Super good.
Yeah, go ahead. Whatever you want to say before you get into it. It's all you.
No, I'm all good.
Good luck. Excuse me, good luck.
Yeah, I've spent at least like 2 minutes at some point, like just resetting to get Nightcrawler. I think it broke my console at one point. But anywho, yeah, so this first stage, it's a really good showcase of what Nightcrawler can do. It shows off pretty much all his movement. So you'll see the technique that we have there calling super jumping. There's also some climbing. Nightcrawler can stick to walls. He also has that diagonal kick right there that you'll see. It'll be pretty useful at some point throughout the run. Super jumping is really the main method of movement in this game. So Nightcrawler, once you do his jump kick, he slows down proportional to how long you have the forward button held down. So you just kind of tap that and you go really fast. And at the end of that animation, you can actually jump again. So he covers a really, really far distance without too much effort. So yeah, Nightcrawler's kind of broken like he is in most X-Men speedruns. Except his teleport is kind of normalized. And then go to the Sentinel Factory, can finally select a character. So of course we're going to select Nightcrawler because we're going to do that for most of the run. And you'll see him getting some super jumps in here. Most of the time he'll jump and then kind of come down diagonally to hit those little Imperial droid looking guys. Some pretty tight corridors through here. And so for Sentinel Factory, what you're meant to do here is just go around and bash some terminals open. Those terminals will break a note near the door that you need to go through to progress. It will get hit by an electrical pulse, open the door, and then you can go through and get to the rest of the stage. So you want to be really careful not to get hit by that electric pulse. There's something weird that happens after you get hit by that, and if you're in the kind of shock animation, the next thing you get hit by will pretty much kill you. It'll just drain your life. It's kind of crazy. And hopefully it won't. It's still got a little ways to go here at the Sentinel Factory. So yeah, more or less the same here. The corridors are a bit tighter on Sentinel Factory too. And we'll also get some camera manipulation in right about here. So you want to keep that camera right there on the door so that it opens as soon as you get up there. I missed it, but you don't wait too long if you miss it. And hopping over some of these electrical pulses. And yeah, this is more or less the same. There is one little difference though. It's coming up towards the end, which he's almost at. Yeah, and it's a real quick thing, so blink and you'll miss it. Right here. So, what happened there? That's the only skip in the game. So if you collide with some tiles, you clip into the floor or the wall, the game checks to see if you can actually exit the stage. And those tiles that are right there at the end of the stage are perfect. So the exit is like right below that floor. So it checks, and then you get sent into the boss fight. So this boss fight is pretty easy. You pretty much just crouch and punch these panels. The panels have a really long iframe cycle, so you just keep punching there. Anytime the boss fires at you, you just blink out. Nightcrawler's teleport does leave him off screen for a few frames, so he can avoid some attacks that way. And then this stage here, so you've got to go all the way back through the Sentinel Factory, and this is actually really dangerous. So you've got all these flame columns, you've got so many opportunities to take damage here. And then he's gonna get some little kicks in over the little stumpy flame columns and take some damage boost so he can speed it up a little bit, go through some of the ones that you can't really avoid. Yeah, just a big countdown. You want to be really careful here. Like, your run can definitely meet its demise through this hallway. No, I think you start over right at the beginning of this escape sequence. Yeah. I think they're saying in chat that they can hear you, A-Frame. Your mic might be muted for the stream.
Hopefully now you guys can hear me.
Okay, so now we're getting into the Avalon stages, because every X-Men game at this point in time, during this era, needed an Avalon stage or an Asteroid M. And you'll see some more of the movement tech here. So, when you hit an enemy, you get iframes, just a few iframes, and it's really just enough to get through the enemies. So you'll pretty much, that's pretty much the progression through the stage here. And some others as we go along in the run. But then you'll see here, like, a lot of tight corridors again. Those acolytes are just blocking off a lot of the pathways. So you kind of have to use that more here than anywhere else. A lot of the other stages are open to where you can either jump or teleport or wall climb or do something where you can just totally avoid enemies. Or you just kick enemies and destroy them. Also worth noting is that Cortez, the boss of this stage, is pursuing you through the whole thing, and it gets really laggy when he shows up. Oh, there he is. So we're gonna go in here. He's gonna position himself just right, and then we're gonna semi-manipulate Cortez so he can take a lot of damage from Nightcrawler. Whenever any X-Men member is in yellow health, they do a bit more damage with their mutant powers. So we just use that to take Cortez down pretty quick and efficiently. And then we get to what is kind of the auto-scroller for this game. But if you're like Nightcrawler or Beast and you have a downward moving attack, you can speed this up. So normally you would punch the lever, and then the characters will get locked into kind of that animation there. They'll fall at a specific gravity, and then you have to dodge the lasers left and right. With Nightcrawler, of course, you can move diagonally downward, you can move straight downward, so you can just position yourself to where you can get through most of the lasers at one time. And you gotta be careful, you want to end the stage in yellow health. Again, for the more damage. So it looks like he's in pretty good shape here. There's a little bit of health along the way, just in case you do get hit. Right there. That shouldn't be a problem. You just grab the health on the way out. Right after this. Yeah, and you should know, the stage is actually pretty funny. So Nightcrawler has such range on his attack that he can punch through most of the acolytes and activate the levers like, without them doing anything at all. But we're gonna start this stage with Wolverine. So Wolverine has like max damage for this game when he's in yellow health. He does like 8 damage with his mutant power. So we're just gonna use that to take a few cycles off of Exodus there. And also kind of to put Magneto away a little faster. So this Magneto fight is not really a fight so much as it is a chase. The first couple of walls you can just knock down yourself. This third one you have to manipulate Magneto, so he fires a few blasts into the wall, opens it up like that, and then you can attack him and knock him into this machine that locks him down for whatever reason that's in this room. He makes an escape attempt there, but it's pretty futile. And that was actually one of the really cool things about this game, is that it's one of the only X-Men games from this era where you can take control of Magneto. He's not super good, but it is a cool thing nonetheless.
It's kind of fun to play as, and you can cheese a few bosses with him, a lot of bosses, because he's able to float in the air indefinitely and shoot projectiles. But he's giant and takes a lot of hits and is super slow.
Yeah, I think his projectiles only do 1 damage too.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, they tried to balance him out that way.
Which base attack damage is like 2 on most characters' normal hits, right?
Yeah. Oops. And then, let's see, we have outside the pyramid here. Not too much going on this stage. It's really good for super jumps, as you can see. You just gotta space them just right. You gotta be careful not to fall down those pits. Those pits are staggered, so you can end up falling down like 2 or 3. And then we fight Tusk, who's been throwing boulders at us since the beginning. At the beginning of this stage, at least. And A-Frame's going for this strat that he came up with not too long ago, I think just a few months ago. The old strat was to blink out, duck, punch, and then blink out again on a loop. A-Frame came up with this strat where you can just hit him, you can just bop him with the teleport in between cycles. And then puts him away. And this stage here, this stage is crazy. The stage is another place where your run can meet its demise. These spike pillars do 3 damage, so there's not a lot of room for error here. A couple mistakes and you're gone. And these are all on a global cycle. There is a strat you can do to kind of get ahead. That way, a few sections you don't have to wait, where there's a drop off there. And then it's really scary because it's a blind drop, and these things are going at a fairly fast pace. Or I should say moderate. It's a moderate pace. Just enough to scare you.
Just to note that the normal strategy here would be to hit the switches on the wall that change the direction that these travel, but since we have Nightcrawler, we just teleport right through them and keep going.
Yeah, and as you can see, Nightcrawler can actually clip through a couple of those barriers. So it makes it not as scary. And you have like a ton of these Tuskmen here. The stage is actually probably the laggiest in the game, outside of the final set. And very dangerous, and you do want to be mindful of your health, because you do want to enter the next stage with full health. It speeds it up just slightly. So this is another Wolverine stage. And this is probably the most annoying fight in the game casually, because it's really hard to tell what's going on. So Apocalypse will drop these gray mines here. And those gray mines make 3 rotations around that machine, and then they will blow up. So what A-Frame wants to do here is take damage just enough to where he can get back into yellow health. And you have to wait out a few cycles here regardless. Every time you destroy one of those blue mines, it does damage to the machine. I'll say damage, quote unquote damage. And then Apocalypse will pop out. So what you want to do here, Wolverine is still at max damage, and you want to do a little dance with Apocalypse. So he will reposition to attack you. So you want to run out far enough to where he will kind of glide away from you. And then Wolverine's attack has a lot of range, so you want to go forward and then attack him, and then repeat on the other side. Gets rid of him really quickly. So if you fail that quick kill, you have to wait a minimum of 4 cycles for him to reappear. And it's pretty funny because he will do a fake out cycle where you can hit him and he will make the groan like he took damage, but he will not have taken any damage at all. But anyway, now we're in the Savage Land.
Smelly, I might have missed it. Did you already talk about how iframes work in this game?
Yes, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Back in Avalon.
Gotcha. Right on. Cool.
So you'll see a little bit of that too. There are some enemies that are gonna pursue him here. some enemies that are just kind of in the way as well. And Savage Land's actually pretty crazy in this game, so you can see like there's a lot of stage hazards. There's those spike bombs, there are the little plants on the ground, there's the flies, there's the guys that are chasing you with the axes. There's a lot going on, and it's pretty cramped quarters there. So yeah, that was Savage Land 1. Savage Land 2 is not quite as bad. Savage Land 2 is pretty open, and it's horizontal more or less. So you get to the bottom of the stage and you just keep kicking, and that's more or less it. Not too much going on there. But then you get to 3 and 4, and 3 and 4 switches it up. So now we get the gimmick where you have to climb this kind of labyrinthian stage. Pretty much all vertical platforming. There's a lot of type of jumping. There's enemies that do a fair bit of damage here, and they're just kind of all over the place, and they will surprise you just like that. And then there are those green ledges. So those green ledges will actually flip if you stay on them for too long. So you have just a few frames to jump off those things. I should mention that there is a big pool of acid that is rising. You won't ever see it. You will see signs of it though. There's some acid bubbles that raise up every now and then. And we also have some small teleport skips here. So Nightcrawler's teleport is kind of normalized. There are some ledges where he can teleport through. Most he cannot though. Which is crazy, because most X-Men games, it's either one extreme or another. It's either really terrible, or it is really like super broken. So yeah, his teleport does get a little bit of extra range if you have that yellow health, which you don't really need here for these skips. Then Beast. This is the only stage where you use Beast proper. He is a good backup on a couple stages because he does the highest amount of base damage. So each one of his normal punches is like 4 damage, which is kind of insane. So Brainchild pops out, Brainchild disappears. Yeah, and that's Savage Lands right there. And now you kind of go on to what is probably the most, I'd say the most fun stage to execute in the game. It's the Phalanx Tower. So again, this is also like a really good showcase of what Nightcrawler can do. So you have these sections where you can just ascend vertically really, really quickly. Like this, it's open for super jumps. There are some teleport skips, and you can kick through a lot of enemies here. Just all around, really fun to watch. It's really fun to play as well. It's also where the game, if you can believe it, actually ticks up a little bit in difficulty. So this stage actually has spikes kind of all over the place. It's also kind of labyrinthian. Then there's a small skip right here. So yeah, you do want to monitor your health. If you make too many mistakes here, you will get beaten up. There is a fair bit of health just kind of lying around in the stage though. The boss is definitely the coolest part of the stage. So you punch him once, and then you just do this. So you might be asking yourself, what is that? You're in luck. So I'll explain it, because this next stage is literally just 2 minutes of ascending. There's no way that has been found to speed this stage up. Anywho, Nightcrawler, he has a glitch with his teleport, like surprise, surprise. So normally you can only do one action in the air. You can only attack once. With Nightcrawler, if you jump and then you attack and then you do a teleport and then you press the attack button again, he just kind of hangs there in the air. His teleport aura is invisible, but the hitbox is still there, and it is still dealing damage. Unfortunately, that is the only place in the game where it's really useful. I guess useful proper. You can use it as a backup on a couple bosses. It'd be cool if you could use it elsewhere, but yeah, it's just really slow. Especially in comparison to like Wolverine taking down some of these bosses or some of the other boss strats that have been devised over time. But yeah, here we go. Ascending the flanks tower. Not much going on here. These enemies will just continuously spawn for 2 minutes straight. Every now and then you get the special flanks encrusted droid. I guess we'll call it a droid. And that'll drop like 5 health. So you don't even have to really worry about health here. After about 2 minutes, Deathbird will come screaming in from the left side of the screen. And she's a pretty easy boss fight, especially if you have Wolverine at max health here.
Another 20 seconds or so.
Yeah, this is probably the most boring part of the run, and I wish there was just some way to speed this up.
Yeah, it is kind of a nice moment to catch your breath before the next couple of levels, which, again, are more difficult than anything we've done so far. And review the game plan and try to relax a little bit if you're on good pace.
Yeah, from here to the end, that whole trek is pretty brutal. And there's Deathbird. She comes, there she goes.
2 minute wait for that.
All right, so these final stages, they just tried to find every single enemy they could and just pack them into these hallways because it is kind of insane. And so your movement has to be altered because of that. You can't really do a lot of super jumps through these corridors. You have to take some of them out. So you'll see a nice combination of just kicking through enemies and taking some damage boost, not getting beat up too bad. There's a sparse amount of health on this stage without going too far out of the way. Yeah, I see someone mentioning the song variations. That actually happens in one player as well. It's just character by character. Yeah, it's fun to kind of listen to them all, just kind of hang out on one stage and pick a different character. So it's like the same song, but a different part of it is just emphasized. Yeah, and exactly. The soundtrack to this game was made by Kurt Harland, who went on to do the tracks for Legacy of Kain. All right, so we have the final proper stage here, the Brood Ship. This is appropriately the most brutal stage in the game. You just have tight corridors. You have these giant blue broods that have a massive hitbox. Everything is shooting at you all the time. And you have those little green broods are actually like a problem. Yeah, they're really low to the ground, really hard to deal with. And the health on this stage is actually really spread out. So one thing you'll notice is after every section, you'll get one of these falling sections. There's no way to speed this up with any character, just because you're not on solid ground when you enter that section. You're just automatically floating. So you kind of are forced to play the game there. You have to be really careful not to get hit on those spikes. Yeah, reduced health is pretty nasty going through here. There's just there's just a whole lot on the stage. Again, this is another stage where your run can just easily meet its demise. It is pretty crazy, like how many enemies are just packed in through here. Surprisingly, the stage is not quite as laggy as you would imagine. I guess you'll call that blast processing or whatever, right? And this room right here, when I was running this game, I would die here quite a bit. Ironically, there's quite a bit of health in this room. There's some even hidden. Just in the background, hanging out behind some of these pillars. So then just falling down the right side here, more or less, going into the final section. So, one thing of note, as brutal as this level is, you do want to mind your health again. You want to leave the stage with max health. So he's got to be really, really careful here. All right, took a little backup, but we're in there, right? The reason being is that you get to the Brood Queen here. You can quick kill the Brood Queen with Wolverine in yellow health. If you get hit there, you enter the stage in red health, or if you get hit by any of the Brute Queen's attacks, it goes to it goes from a 1 cycle minimum to a 3 cycle at least. And yeah, Kurt Herlin was the
That's the part I was nervous about.
the producer for the soundtrack. We actually, the theme song to this game is just one of his band's tracks, just converted to 16-bit. Which
Brute
is
Queen defeated.
Pretty cool tidbit.
Victory theme. We thought we were done. Ah, there's more.
So yeah, the Brood Queen, who is actually just a giant phalanx at this point, retreats, comes back as a giant pair of claws, and then turns into a clone of all the X-Men. So, even though this game was not made by Konami in the 90s, they did throw a lot of bosses at you. So, you don't get one final boss, you get 7. And you have to fight them one by one. So, these guys have 24 health, and they don't have any iframes, so Wolverine can just go in. Just like that. What you don't want to happen is for them to get halfway down and go into secondary fire mode, because they will change it to a different form and they will fire off some kind of attack and just overall waste time. So yeah, there's no specific order you have to do these in, but you just go up the left side and then down the right side, just because it's the most expedient.
Short detour just to get some additional health to get back up to full, just in case.
Yeah, and you kind of want to be at full here too. If you risk taking a hit, you can go you have to go really far out of your way just to get some health there. Which there's a hallway full of health. Gambit can be kind of scary. His range is ridiculous. So there we are, left side clones eliminated, and now we're going to the right side. And then you can take these guys out, just so you don't have to worry about them on the way back. And then, ironically, Wolverine is probably the easiest clone. He just stands there and slash. You gotta be really careful. You can see at the end, there's kind of a rush. You can get hit by his second attack, which is true of Psylocke too. So Psylocke has the longest reaching attack in the game. That sword is nothing to play with. It is absolutely insane. All right, so 5 down, 1 to go. And the one that gives us the most headaches is fought at the end. Beast actually has his enhanced damage, or I guess it's really just his base damage, in his clone form as well. So you gotta be really, really careful here. And 2, and there we go.
Got the quick kill too. Feel good about that. It's super hard to get the last hit on Beast sometimes.
I should also mention there's a little Easter egg on this stage. If you beat 5 clones, you can go down to the wall that the Brute Queen stops. Attack it, you get a little smiley face, and then it unlocks the Magneto clone. But yeah, Magneto's clone shoots projectiles and is really, really unfair. It's definitely a hard fight. But yeah, that's X-Men 2 here. So we get our ending, which is just all text. Professor X hooked up to Cerebro. Just telling us the ending here. No visuals, unfortunately. Yeah, A-Frame did a fantastic job on that one.
Yeah, super happy with that run. Smelly, thanks so much for coming in and doing commentary. What's that?
Sorry, did you is that's the end of the run?
Yes, I should have said time. Oops, my mistake. I wasn't even thinking about it. But yeah,
Okay.
when the screen went black.
I think you got a 2610 from where the last input was.
Holy cow. All right. Yeah, that was very good.
Yeah, great job. That was awesome.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks so much, everybody, for watching. I already said thanks, Smelly, for commentating. That was great. You covered so many points that would have been hard to cover. Well, trying to keep going with the action. And
yeah, this game's pretty intense.
And thank you, Blast the Process, for putting all this on. It has been great. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you for joining us. It's awesome to see this great game be played here. I mean, I love this game. It's awesome to see.
And shout out to the guys from Discord spamming some emotes in the chat. I appreciate you guys making out to check out the run. And I saw Sonic Star in there too, who, as far as I know, still has the top task run, which a lot of the techniques that we use in the run were pulled from. So that's great. Smelly, did you have anything else in mind?
Sorry, I talked over you. What was that?
Oh, I was asking if Smelly had anything else he wanted to cover before we call it.
No, that's it for me.
All right, right on. Well, thanks all.
Thank you. Yeah, that's great. Okay, so that does it for the little X-Men mini block. Got some great runs in, but we have another mini block coming right up. It's a Super Monkey Ball block. Starting with Super Monkey Ball Deluxe in Super Monkey Ball 2 Race with Helix and Glock and my Toyota. And then Touch and Roll right after that. So please don't go anywhere. Got some more awesome stuff coming right up.